GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC here in 2025. We've got a brand new car, a very large new grid of drivers, and of course lots of new teams as well. But familiar faces, including myself. I'm Piers Prior. I'm going to be bringing you the build-up to this first GB4 race of 2025. And alongside me, another familiar face to those of you who have watched GB3 and 4 coverage in the last couple of years, Max Maserati. Max, thanks very much for joining us once again.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Great grid this year with GB4, so I can't wait for it to get going.
Yeah, let's touch on that first actually. Really strong grid in the new era of GB4 here in 2025. 25 drivers at the first round. It's the most we've ever had by 9 drivers, a really good thing for the first chapter of this new championship.
Yeah, exactly, it's a totally new car, so to have this amount of drivers into it already, you know, it is literally the first round, so I'm pretty sure we'll see those numbers actually increase potentially as the year goes on, but it's super exciting. This first race is going to be absolutely mega. Yeah,
and from walking around the paddock in the last couple of days, having joined at the media day and then been here yesterday for the testing, of course you're very much involved. You're coaching alongside the Graham Brunton Racing team this year. It seems like there's a real buzz in the paddock, both from the drivers and the teams.
Yeah, certainly at Graham Brunton Racing with our drivers, there's been so much excitement with this year's car. It's such a different feeling to last year, so the second year drivers don't really have an advantage like you usually see in the second or third year of like a car's development. It's completely new slate for everyone, so it makes it easier for those drivers coming in for their first year in the championship compared to what it would have been previously. But it's been so exciting to work. You know, like GB have been doing a great job. We've got 3 really great drivers with Mayer, Callum and Alex Berg. You know, different experience. 2 of them done GB4 before. 1 of them did a British Formula 4 and has come over to GB4, and he's really loving the car. So it just shows how great, you know, the step this new car is.
And you said it's a different thing to drive. If anyone's going to know, it's you, Max. You've done a fair amount of miles in this new car, haven't you? What's it actually like to drive?
It's amazing. It's amazing. Compared to the old car, the brakes are incredible. They're the same as the old GB3 brakes, so the stopping power is insane on them compared to, you know, the season before. You know, drivers as young as 15 were having to hit 100, you know, bar pressure on the brake pedal to actually get it to slow down.
That's a lot.
That is absolutely insane. So for them now, you're in the like 40 bar kind of range, so it's a lot less. Again, it's nicer for that entry-level motorsport, which GB4 is. For drivers coming out of karting, jumping into this car, it's not this radical change to their left foot, which makes it makes that learning process just a bit nicer for them.
Absolutely, and we've waffled enough about that new car. Lewis McGlade, our commentator, is going to talk you through all the details about this brand new car in just a moment.
The GB4 Championship introduces a new car to the series for 2025, the Tartus MSV GB4025. The Tartus MSV GB4025 previously raced in the GB3 Championship between 2022 and 2024, so it's already a hugely proven and well-received machine with excellent levels of reliability and parity. With the all-important Halo cockpit protection device, upgraded safety standards all round, and a revamped technical package. To meet GB4 requirements, the car has single-plane front and rear wings, a naturally aspirated 2-litre 4-cylinder mount-tune engine mounted to a 6-speed SADEV gearbox with paddle shift, bodywork revisions, as well as additional safety upgrades including improved side impact and rollover protection. And that's the new GB4 car for the 2025 season.
It's great to have the information about the new car. Thank you very much, Lewis McGlade, who's spoken you through that. He's going to be, of course, being our live commentator throughout the race. Really good job by Motorsport Vision, MSV and Tatters to bring us this new car. Of course, there's a lot to talk about with that new car, but one of the main improvements has been the safety, Max. Do you want to talk us through about some of those pieces?
Yes, the big thing is the Halo structure on the car now. Much more that modern single-seaters. You know, having that Halo is just so crucial for head protection.
Yeah.
It does change the characteristics of the car in terms of how, you know, the car handles, because it's a lot of weight, especially high, so it changes the center of gravity. So especially in like middle speed corners, in high speed it's there, but it's not too bad due to the, again, like a different aero platform to what we were before. Low speed, again, it doesn't feel bad. It's that middle range. Everywhere else the car is significantly better. It's still good compared to the old car, it matches it, but that's definitely where you feel it as a driver. Yeah. That's that weight transfer movement, especially like the chicane here at Donington.
Yeah.
That left-right where the car's loaded and then it comes back again.
Yeah.
You know, that's where you feel that difference, and for a driver to maximise that but it's so crucial to have this at the entry level, not only for safety, but
Yeah.
because that's what you're going to have for the rest of the journey up to Formula 1.
Absolutely, and of course, as we mentioned before, drivers as young as 15 can race in the GB4 Championship. The first step on the single-seater ladder, and it's great to have those safety improvements. And from what I've heard from the teams, they've enjoyed working on the new car as well. It's much easier to work on. Of course, new car, a lot of new drivers, but very similar format to we've had in the last few years. It's what brings people back to the championship, and a lot of the good racing we've had will hopefully be repeated this season. Lewis is going to talk you through the format of the championship if you're new to it.
The GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, is run by MSV's racing arm, MSVR. The 2025 season will feature drivers as young as 15 driving the brand new Tartus MSV GB4 025. Each race weekend consists of one qualifying session, which will set the grid for 3 18-minute races, the final of which features a top 12 reverse grid, which will see the pole sitter pushed into the middle of the pack. There are 21 races in the 2025 season across 7 rounds and 5 circuits, with the calendar starting at Donington Park. Then it's on to the Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone at the end of April, Oulton Park in May, Snetterton in the middle of July, with both a return to Silverstone and the penultimate round of the season at Brands Hatch both in August. This is before returning to the scene of the start of the championship at Donington Park in October. There are no required pit stops in GB4, but each car is only allowed a maximum of 6 dry Pirelli tyres each race weekend, the equivalent of 1.5 sets, meaning tyre management is a critical feature. There are multiple prizes on offer in the 2025 campaign, including £50,000 to the 2025 GB4 champion towards their 2026 GB3 campaign, as well as the George Russell Pole Position Cup, which rewards each driver on pole position with £150. The driver with the most pole positions at the end of the season will win an extra £1,000 and the George Russell Pole Position Cup, with a further £1,000 going to the team of the driver with the most pole positions. Should the top female driver in GB4 this year secure a seat in F1 Academy next season, MSV will contribute €50,000 to her budget for that campaign.
Thanks very much, Lewis, taking us through the things that have remained the same. A few little tweaks for this season, but of course, we saw plenty of excellent racing in the last few seasons. And we talked about the new car a lot. I was actually lucky enough to get behind the wheel of that new car in the middle of last year when the car was, shortly after the new car was launched. Let's revisit that. So everything looks normal. Donington Park here with myself, but if you look a little closer, I'm in my race gear. That's because today's a little bit different. I've dusted off the race gear because today I'm a very lucky boy. I'm going to get to drive the new 2025 GB4 car, the Tartus MSV GB4 025, and let's take a look at it. I'm very excited to have a go in this machine. It's got some very new parts, and of course you can see instantly the halo above the driver, increasing the safety for the GB4 Championship in 2025 and beyond. Halo, of course, brought in Formula 1 and other series, and now in GB4 as well. But we've also got increased safety for the side impact structure. Also, everything about the car is just beefed up. It's bigger, it's better, and I'm hoping, from what I've heard, it's going to be a good fun to drive. But also, let's look at some of the other details as well. Single plane front wing, a bit bigger, so potentially a little bit more downforce. Also, the floor. An updated floor for GB4 for 2025. It's going to produce a little bit more undercar downforce, so that'll be in a bit more grip in the high speed, which the drivers will enjoy, and hopefully I'll enjoy as well. Bigger, beefier rear wing. Looks similar to the GB3 car, but it is only a single element, so a slight increase in performance, but nothing crazy. And change in the engine as well, you can't see it. We've got an overhead airbox, as we kind of do in the current GB4, and we've got a very similar engine to what we've had in GB3 in the past, a 2-litre inline 4-cylinder engine, not producing quite as much horsepower as GB3, thankfully, because of course this is at a Formula 4 level, but that naturally aspirated sound that we know so well from GB3, translating into GB4, this should be one of the best packages at Formula 4 level available, and I can't wait to get behind the wheel.
first gear, waiting for the final last go. Try not to stall first time. Right, pit speed limiter. And we're away, here we go! Let's get a feel for the brakes.
Nice little teaser for you there. If you want to see how I fared on circuit when I got to grips with that car and angle, you'll have to tune in from tomorrow for race 2 from about 9:45 in the morning. Now, it's not all about me, of course. There's a lot of drivers on the grid, 25 in total, some of which have some quite recognisable names, including 3 who have fathers who raced in Formula 1 who are now looking to emulate their fathers by starting their career in the GB4 Championship. Graham Brunton Racing awning here with Alex Berg. Alex, welcome to the championship. Great to have you. You're not from around these parts. Tell us where you're from and why you've made the move over to the UK.
Well, yeah, not at all. I'm from Canada, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I live in Beaufort, Georgia, down south in the United States. I just think that UK racing is definitely the best of the best, and I want to become the best of the best driver that I can be. So, obviously, I've chosen to race in the GB4 Championship.
Of course, it's your first experience of the GB4 Championship this year at the first round, but you've got some European and British single-seater experience as well. Tell us a bit about what you've done before this year.
Yeah, of course. Well, I raced the F4, the United States Championship, back in 2022. In 2022 and 23. 2024, I made the trip over to race in the British F4 Championship, in which I learned a lot. And this year I'm racing in the GB4 Championship.
Yeah, and you were successfully as well, taking a win in the British F4 too. But for those at home, they might recognise the Berg surname. It's got some pedigree in motorsports.
Yeah, absolutely. My father actually came over to race in the UK, and I think it was 1982-83 in British F3. And after he was able to secure a spot in Formula 1 for 9 Grand Prix in 1986 for a small team called Osella, based in Italy. So like father, like son, going here in the UK is really cool to be here.
Dayton, great to have you in the championship. This is your first season in single seaters, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. First season, we're doing karting last year, so it's brand new to me.
And it's a pretty big step up coming from karting. You've raced the last 2 or 3 seasons, mostly in the UK, if I'm not correct. And how are you finding the transition to cars?
I love it. I think it's 2 completely different ball games. It took a bit of time to adapt to the car, and we're still learning as we go on. But it's definitely pretty cool to drive.
I can see you're enjoying it with the smile on your face. You've got, of course, two good teammates as well to push you on. I'm sure that the testing pre-season's gone well. Talk to us about the preparation ahead of the year.
It's just been working hard, training, doing sim work, and then just testing. So it's, we're pushing as hard as we can, doing, not leaving any stone unturned, and just trying to make sure we've got the best chance of doing our best.
And looking ahead to the GB4 season in 2025, of course it is your first year in cars, we just touched on that. What are you hoping to get out of the year ahead?
Well, nothing less than my best. I'll just try my best and see where we end up. We haven't had a proper, race yet, so we'll see where we end up this weekend and we'll go off that.
Luca, welcome to the GB4 Championship. It's, I believe it's your first season in cars this year. Talk to us about what you've done up until now.
Yeah, it's my first season here in cars in the GB4 Championship. I've drove a lot of karting over the years, 9 years actually. So yeah, it's a big step for me and my career.
And of course you're Danish, so you've made the step over to the UK. What prompted that decision?
Well, it was my dad and my brother both raced over here before they went to F1 and other categories. So we just thought, why not do it again?
Well, you've just mentioned your dad and your brother. I was going to come on to it in a little while, but you've got a famous surname, Luca Magnusson. They are the real Magnussons, right?
Yeah, they are.
And of course, having such amazing racing pedigree in your family, I'm sure they're there to lend a hand. Have they spoken to you much about this season, going into your first season in cars so far?
Yeah, they've talked with me a lot about it. They know it's a big step and it's very different from karting, so they've been with me, helping me with everything and tests and all the other stuff.
And I'm sure that's very, very helpful. We can see your car in the background. You're racing with Fortec Motorsports this year. It's a different livery to the other Fortec cars because you've got a very distinctive sponsor. It says Beef Lover on the side there. Are you a beef lover yourself?
Yeah, I like beef a lot, and it's the reason we have Beef Lover on the car is my main sponsor is Sashi. John Sashi is a Danish meat importer, and and the best in the world. He won the World Championship this year in meat, actually.
Amazing. So you've got a world champion beef sponsor and also a world champions of in the family as well. Luca, great to catch up with you, and we'll see how you get on this season.
Thank you.
Not long now until the race, just under a quarter of an hour before we go racing, but before then I'll chat to Max Maserati a bit more. Great to have the stamp of approval from some racing families with, of course, 3 Formula 1 drivers' offspring in the championship.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. It just shows the level that GB4 are at, that F1 drivers from not that long ago are looking at this championship and going, yeah, this is where I need to put my kid to teach him the lessons to move forward in his career to get to Formula 1. It's a huge thing. And it shows because even without the F1 drivers' sons, you know, this championship is a fully international grid. You know, from drivers from America, from Canada, from Britain itself, it's incredible for a starting point.
Do you know what, Max? Perfect segue. I was going to come on to that next anyway. We've got such an international grid. I think it's like 13 or 14 different nations represented on the grid this weekend. And it's been very, very close and very competitive so far, which is a big attraction of the championship in general, because a lot of these drivers, they want to race against the best. They want close fighting so that they can get the best out of themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, qualifying was so intense. 1/10 moves you 3 or 4 places. That is huge, and that's why this race is going to be so exciting, because these cars are so close and they haven't got, the aero is really great, but it's not producing that much dirty air.
Yeah.
You've seen Formula 1, so you're not going to have that problem where cars can't follow each other. They can follow each other. There is going to be a slipstream, and that first old hairpin on lap 1 is going to be absolute carnage. It's going to be so exciting to watch.
It's not going to be carnage, Max. It's going to be excellent overtakes, brilliant manoeuvres, I'm sure. We're looking forward to a good race, of course. Let's just talk about that dirty air, of course, and the racing. Donington Park, great circuit to go racing at. 3 or 4 overtaking opportunities. Yeah. We've seen it in the past in the old GB4, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Where do you see the main points for action on circuit?
Well, definitely turn 1. That's quite a pinch point as you go through Redgate. Always very good overtaking opportunity. The last 2 corners being the hairpins as well, also good to set yourself up for turn 1. The chicane, that whole last sector really is good. The middle sector is very high speed corners, so you're going to have to be thinking about how best to set yourself up for that last sector. And you have these big straights that go uphill. That's huge. Like if you get a good exit there, you're carrying that up that steep hill up against the road. So it's so crucial. When behind cars, you're going to be seeing drivers using different gears, trying to get the best exits. It's just going to be a very exciting race here.
Absolutely. Tactical race for the drivers. We've spoken about Donington Park circuit in detail with Max. Of course, you've driven around here a number of times. But let's see a bit more detail about the circuit from Lewis McGlade, our commentator.
So then to Donington Park on the Leicestershire-Derbyshire border. Of course, some of the most fantastic corners in British motorsport. Redgate, the run down the Craner curves, up through the old hairpin, overtaking opportunities at McLean's and Coppice, and that little back stretch down towards the Fogarty S, and then into the tight hairpin at the Melbourne hairpin. Of course, that final turn at Goddard's also is an excellent overtaking opportunity, back onto the Wheatcroft Straight and down towards turn 1 at Redgate. One of the most notable features around this circuit is, of course, the elevation over the 2.5 miles, around about 4 kilometres around the circuit. It sees 35.8 metres of elevation, most notably down at the old hairpin as we climb back up the hill around the 12 turns. So much great racing can happen here at Donington Park.
Thanks very much, Max. Of course, yes, I don't know, that wasn't Max. We said goodbye to Max for now because he's transitioned from a presenter into a driver coach. Great to hear about the circuit there, Lewis. Really appreciate that. It's a great circuit for overtaking, no doubt about it. We spoke about it with Max a moment ago. You've got the last sector, the old hairpin. You've got Goddard's last corner. Also, a good exit out of the last corner can see you overtaking to turn 1. And also, turn 1 on the first lap is always a good place for overtaking. A good start's going to be important, no doubt, because if you can make places at the start, we know in single-seater racing it is tricky and fairly tricky to get past at the best of times, so we're looking forward to that. Brilliant that we're here at Donington Park for the first time out this weekend, and we are going to very shortly ride on board with Jason Pribble. Jason is a new driver to the championship, racing for ADM, and let's have an onboard lap with Jason now. We start the lap of the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit completely flat out over the start-finish line, moving over to the left-hand side for turn 1 Redgate, braking using all of the track on the entry. Tip it in early, use the curb at the apex and watch out for track limits on exit. Your lap times will be deleting qualifying, and do that too many times in the race, you'll be expecting a penalty. Path of least resistance down Craner curves, a lot more undulation here than it looks like on the camera. To the left-hand side to open up the old hairpin, nip the curb on the apex, watch out for track limits again on the exit. Very fast, very committed corner there. Completely flat out now as we travel uphill towards Schwantz curve, which is just setting you up for the entrance of McLean's. right at the middle of the corner. The car goes light, and we're again watching out for track limits at the exit of the corner. All the apex curb on the left to open up Coppice, curb in the middle, run the wall of death around the outside. Car goes light as the car goes over the crest at the exit. Flat out moving to the right hand side as we head towards the Fogarty S's now. A lot faster than it looks. Looks tight, but you can carry a lot of speed into here. Brake on the curb. First apex left, over the curb on the right. Watch out for track limits. Those curbs are very nasty if you hit them at the wrong angle. Final sector now, 2 hairpins remain. First down to Melbourne hairpin. Lock up ahead, but Jason here makes the apex nicely, gets a good exit. Straight line towards the curb on the exit. Completely blind the final corner as we brake for Goddard's. Use the curb on the right-hand side to open up the apex. Tip it in early, try not to lock that inside front wheel. Use the curb on the apex, completely flat out to the curb at the exit for a lap of the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit in GB4. Great to ride on board with a new driver and new team in the championship, Jason Pribble racing for ADM, and he's one of these drivers who's going to be looking to make his way through the field, starting in 18th position in this race. Lewis McGlade will run you through the whole grid when the drivers are on the formation lap. Brilliant circuit here, really enjoyable, the driver's favourite. More undulation here at Donington Park than you can see from that onboard lap, especially down the Craner curves, but also in the middle sector, both up through McLean's and Coppice, and then in the last sector, downhill braking into the Melbourne hairpin, and then also Goddard's off camber. It's a really technical track, great challenge for the drivers, but the driver that managed to master that challenge the best in qualifying was the number 35 of Elite Motorsport car, Isaac Phelps, new to single-seater racing, his first race in a single-seater slicks and wings car in the GB4 Championship, and he took pole, and we heard from him after his pole position lap. Okay, our first pole sitter of 2025 and the new era of GB4, that is Isaac Phelps. Isaac, that must be a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, it feels really good. Like, we've had a good season last year in juniors, and then just to start it off with a pole is really nice.
It seems like the elite team, all three of you have been up there in all the testing, and then you managed to put it out in the bag in qualifying. Must feel good to have that consistency from testing and then also deliver in qualifying.
Yeah, we've been really close in testing, all of us, and then we just all were quite similar on track, but I was the one at the back with the toe, which I think really helped me, but then also just the close gaps meant that just any little mistake would mean for pole, so I'm quite happy with how it's gone.
The talk ahead of qualifying was that it's been really close, and the person that put the laps together was going to be the one that got pole position. How was the laps out there for you?
Yeah, the lap was pretty good. Like, there was a couple traffic moments before it, and then on those last 2 laps I just got some clear track and was able to do the optimal time when the tyres were at their best, so I'm really happy for how it went.
Isaac, congratulations, first pole sitter of 2025 for Elite Motorsport.
Thank you.
Brilliant to hear from our pole sitter, and great to see Isaac Phelps on pole position. Of course, Elite Motorsport are no strangers to the front of the grid. They've taken many wins in the GB4 Championship in the past, and he's a new driver to the championship. But we've got plenty of returners, actually. Well, I say plenty, a fair few, including our driver starting second on the grid, the number 50 red and white car there of Jack Taylor. You'll remember Jack Taylor from last year. Comes all the way over from Australia, made the big trip over. Did the last year, I'd say, didn't have the strongest of years. It was a learning year for Jack, but really stepped it up over the winter. I spoke to him. He hasn't actually done a huge amount of driving. I spoke to his dad as well, and they think that in testing he's been showing really good pace, consistently at the top, topping some of the pre-season tests as well. And that's just coming down to a bit of a improvement in his maturity. He's growing up as a young man, but also the confidence he gained from doing last year and then moving into this year, really stepping him forward. Another driver that's actually impressed is Ari Bansal, the driver in third place, the number 46 Elite Motorsport car there. He is third on the grid. Again, not a huge amount of motorsport or car racing experience for him, mostly just karting. The young Indian driver, very impressive again for Elite Motorsport. Third place on the grid in this next race. He will be looking to gain some experience this year, but also get some good results in early, and he's done a very good job. And why don't I jump in and have a quick word with Joseph Loke, who is driver coach for a lot of the drivers, including Jack Taylor in the GB4 Championship. Joseph, of course, you were with us not last year, but the year before in GB3. Now you're helping out Fortec behind the scenes of the driving. We were just saying how good a job Jack Taylor's doing this year, moving on from last year.
Absolutely. I mean, it's quite incredible actually from where he came from last year. He was, probably down the back end of the grid, to put it nicely. And this year to be on the front row at round 1 is pretty good for him. So really big for his confidence. I think he's pretty pumped for this race as well. So it's going to be fun.
I was going to ask you about that. What's his mentality like going into this one?
Well, I mean, I think you know Jack. He's definitely pretty hyped for this one. I think he can't wait. So yeah, I hope it goes well for him, obviously. But yeah, his best chance is going to be on lap 1. So we'll see how good his start is, and then from then see what he can do.
Brilliant. Well, you're clearly doing a good job behind the scenes helping the drivers there. Joseph Loke, their performer, came second in the GB3 Championship in 2023. Moving further down the grid, Hillspeed returning for a full championship campaign in GB4. Both drivers inside the top 5. Great result from them. Dan Ginchard, who has 2 years of experience in British F4, joining us, has a stellar karting career, joining us for GB4 proper this year, and he was consistently quick in pre-season testing. 4th place on the grid, I'm sure he'll be happy with. And his teammates, Stefan. No, his teammate is Leandro, and I'm going to get that right, Leandro Juncos. Now he's a driver come over from America once again. Another one of our drivers on the grid with a famous motorsport family. His father is part of the team, or for one of the people that runs the Juncos Bollinger IndyCar team. And he's also got quite a unique background as well. He's actually done some race engineering and strategy assistance with the IndyCar team, and now making his move from that into driving, and the young driver, and another driver from abroad, Stefan Bostangiev, with a new team, Pace Performance, 2 drivers with Pace. Stefan Bostangiev away from Stefan. I'm hoping to grab a quick. Can we have a quick word, Stefan? How are you feeling ahead of your first GB4 race here in 20? Actually, I better jump out of the way because the cars are now going to the grid. So, for the first time in 2025, GB4, partnered by their BRDC, is going racing.
Well, welcome along then, as we get ready to go racing here for the first time in 2024 in the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, as 25 drivers begin their journey to seek the 2025 crown. Of course, we start here at Donington Park, where the season will end, of course, later in the year at October. It's one that's got some great overtaking opportunity. The race down into that turn 1 at Redgate. Of course, up round Coppice and this back end of the section of the circuit where you go through Fogarty and then down to the Melbourne hairpin. Great for overtaking opportunity, as is Goddard's, and onto the Wheatcroft straight. So many stories have been told around this Donington Park circuit, of course, here in GB4, in GB3 as well, and across the world of motorsport. It's hosted some of the biggest events in motorsport, from truck racing to touring cars, from bikes to Formula One. It's going to be a fantastic journey this 2025 season, and it is a record grid, as we have said. This is going to be so much fun. So many stories have already been told through qualifying. We have had so much fun indeed, and I can't wait to see this race get underway. Great to see the likes of Jack Taylor returning for a second year and improving so much, as you would expect. We will try and run through not only the entire grid, we'll try and introduce you to all the drivers, get you used to all the liveries, all the cars, and everyone battling for victory here in this first 18-minute race of the 2025 season. Isaac Phelps, of course, jumping into this, a sim racing expert, to be perfectly honest. He drives for the Apex Racing team in sim racing. I know a lot of his teammates will be watching on from this. Very, very happy to see him jumping into this and straight onto the first pole position of the season, alongside Jack Taylor, a returning driver for 2025. It's a big grid though, so we're going to keep the pace up as we work our way through it onto the second row of the grid. It'll be Ari Bansal, of course, starting alongside Daniel Ginchard in that 4th position for Hillspeed. Leandro Juncos and Stefan Bostangiev will be starting from 6th position with Alex Catalyst starting from 7th. Luke Hilton, who actually looked really good in qualifying, was showing some speed, was building it through the session. A lot of people are tipping him to actually have a very good season here. Enzo Howman there starting from 9th position, and Leon Wilson, another returning driver for the Arden Motorsports team, will start just inside the top 10. Before we get to Thomas Ingram Hill and Alex Berg, who we caught up with in that pre-race interview there for the Graham Brunton racing team, one of 3 from them. Ava Dobson, big improvement as well on pace from last season, did 2 rounds last season. Callum Baxter will be very disappointed with that qualifying. I think the highest placed driver of the returning lot from last season. Dayton Coulthard starts from 15th position, with Maya Dianarine starting from 16th position. Then 17th is Megan Bruce. Jason Pribiel starting from 18th position. Then the final few spots, Luca Magnussen, Josh McLean had a few lockups going down to this hairpin in qualifying to McLean. Holly Mile and of course Nine Evans will be starting from 22nd. And then of course Lily Watkins and Caitlin McDaniel, a late arrival into the GB4 grid. And then of course we have Alex O'Grady, who was unfortunately qualified in 6th position, got disqualified from qualifying for a technical infringement. Will start all 3 races this weekend from the rear of the field. Lewis McGlade, Piers Prior though, 2 other names you might need to get used to this season. We'll be taking you through this grid, of course, on the commentary booth. I mean, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm so excited for this, Piers.
Massive GB4 grid, biggest we've had by 9 drivers. First race of the new era of GB4. It's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. It's hard to call who's going to come out on top this season, but we're looking forward to the first race at the start of the year.
Yeah, indeed. It's the bright yellow of Isaac Phelps there on the left-hand side of your screen in that number 35 car. On the right-hand side, it's the red and white Fortec car of Jack Taylor. All of the cars are in position, 25 of them. This is going to be so much fun. We've got a final few just to roll into their spots at the back end of the field, and then we'll get this 18-minute race underway. Should be roughly, I think it's 12 laps around here normally, around this circuit. We'll have to wait and see. Let's get ourselves ready to go racing. This new era begins in GB4 as the lights come on and we get ready to go racing down into the first corner. We are underway indeed. Great start from Isaac Phelps. Great start as well in the background there from the number 17 of Bostangiev, who's had a great one to come straight around the outside, starting in 6th position. The white and green car there is making the move up the order. That is Stefan Bostangiev. Oh, there's a bit of contact as well there in the midfield. Not sure whose end play from their front wing was picked up. Great start from Isaac Phelps, who's away clear from Jack Taylor.
Yeah, brilliant start from Phelps at the front of the field. But Bostangiev tried around the outside, a bold move, but it looks like Ari Bansal, the 46 yellow elite car from 3rd place, lost the front wing. Who's got a puncture? Is that Jack Taylor?
Must be Jack Taylor with a puncture there in the number 50 car, white and red. It's rear right. You can see the rear right is down on that car. The number 50 is slowing down. That's such a shame for Taylor, and he's right in the middle of the pack. This is going to get sketchy indeed, but he'll be able to pull over to the left-hand side and basically stay out of harm's way. You can see him there going out wide, but yeah, that's a big shame. Must have been contact down at Redgate.
Yeah, that was. It was the front end of Bansal in 3rd place, just touching the rear tyre of Jack Taylor in 2nd place going into turn when we saw the bits of the front wing fly up in the air. But we've got Bostangiev actually in 3rd place, fending off a challenge from the 32 blue car from Douglas of Luke Hilton. Oh, big slide through the chicane from the 77 of Junkos.
Yeah, there's a bit of a lock-up as well from the number 9 there of Megan Bruce. Someone's been off in the gravel trap on the right-hand side there as well. Lots of dives as we work our way down. Front wing missing there on the number, I was going to say that's 48, but no, that must be Ari Bansal that you were talking about, the yellow 46. Car, the elite car that's lost its front wing down there at turn 1. Either way, great start. Speaking of yellow cars, speaking of elite, great start to the race from Isaac Phelps, who leads across the line. In 2nd place is Ginchard, then Bostangiev, then Hilton, then Catalyst, who's in that 51 bright yellow car in 5th position.
Yeah, dream start in the first race of the GB4 Championship from our pole sitter Isaac Phelps, the Elite Motorsport team. He has bolted away at the front of the field. Nearly 2 seconds is a contrasting experience for Ari Bansal. You can see him shaking his head there. The Elite Motorsport team doing a great job getting that front wing fitted. They'll be hoping for a safety car so he can get back in the thick of the action, but at the very least he'll be back on circuit trying to get some valuable running, and of course any time on circuit is valuable for these drivers at the early stage of their career.
Fastest first sector of the race has just come in from Ginchard as well, who's the hill speed car there running in 2nd position. We hear them coming up over the crest at Coppice, where I heard a little bit of sliding, maybe a little bit of bottoming out from our race leader there, the number 35 of Isaac Phelps. Great to see him leading away and leading strong. Another fastest middle sector of the race though coming in from Ginchard, so that gap for the race lead is closing down. Piers, look at the 2 Graham Brunton racing cars there as we search our way back to Luke Hilton, who's had a bit of a moment there there in the number 32, that bright blue car, and he's lost out to the yellow of Catalyst.
Yeah, looked like he probably had a little bit of an issue there in the 44. Oh, big move up the inside from Mayor Dionorine in that blue and white Graham Brunton racing car up the inside. Hasn't quite got alongside enough to get that move done on the number 98 there of, that's his teammates, that's Alex Berg. Yeah, so there's an inter-team battle between those two. Same team, different colours there. The 44 in blue is Dionorine, the 98 in red and white is Berg. So they're fighting on. They're actually going to allow the number 8 of Thomas Ingram Hill in the Forte red and white car behind to get involved in that slight lock-up there, Lewis.
Yeah, a bit of a lock-up there on the front right of Dionorine, the Azus-sponsored white and blue car for Graham Brunton. Really love that livery on Graham Brunton Racing this season, by the way. A lot of the liveries out there look fantastic. This grid, there's some serious contenders on this grid. 1 second, the gap for the race lead as Ginchard is closing in on Isaac Phelps. That gap will drop under a second, I'm sure, over this lap. In fact, I believe it already has done so, courtesy of a good opening sector of the lap here. Obviously, there's still plenty of time left to go. We're only 4 minutes into the season opener, and you can see some battling happening here behind as we've got, I think it's the number 8 of Ingram Hill, I believe?
Yes, correct. That is Ingram Hill for Fortec Motorsports. The 15-year-old is only 15 years old, going side by side with a series returner, Liam Wilson, in the red, predominantly red and white Alden racing car. Looks like he's actually pushed Ingram Hill slightly wide at the chicane, so potentially, actually already through is Liam Wilson there. So a good exit out of the chicane allows him to take one place there. But I'm keeping half an eye on that lead battle. Ginchard looking very quick at this early stage of the race, using his extra experience, 2 seasons in single-seaters as opposed to Phelps's 0, so clearly being able to switch on those tyres well. But we'll see if he can continue that pace up to the back of the Elite Motorsport car at the front of the field.
I believe that KMR sport car we saw off the road going through the chicane, I believe that might have been Watkins, but not 100% sure. One of them either way off the road ever so slightly as they work their way through the foggy. Yes, really good final sector there from Isaac Phelps to build the gap out to 1.1 seconds, but you can see there, fastest lap of the race, the driver who's just worked his way up into 4th position. That, of course, is Catalyst. He's on the back end of Bastantiev as well in the battle for 3rd position in the grid. So we've got battles, obviously, one closing up for the race lead. This one exactly here for 3rd place. Bastantiev in the white and green car directly ahead in that 17. The 51 of Catalyst, though, who has the fastest lap of this race and is closing right in, knocking right at the door.
Yeah, Catalyst has actually been very, very fast, pretty consistently in testing pre-season for that Elite Motorsport team. He's been up there in most of the sessions. Unfortunately, didn't quite put it all together in qualifying. Qualified in the middle of the top 10, I believe, but he's using that pace now to close the gap down, and I think it's only a matter of when he gets alongside Bastantiev, and he's already up the inside into the Melbourne hairpin, clearly getting a good exit through the fog at yes, and the 51, the yellow car there, going through on the number 17 of Bastantiev, who's in that white and green car. Just a little feinting defence to hopefully deter Bastantiev from a retaliation, but that move is done. That is now 2 elite cars on the podium at this early stage in the race.
Yeah, indeed. To be fair, I wouldn't be too surprised if Bastantiev keeps the pace up, keeps up, looks after him. We were talking about this with a few of the drivers. They're talking about these the Pirelli tyres they've got. Of course, if you've never joined us in GB4 to talk you through it, over a race weekend they get 6 tyres, 6 dry Pirelli tyres, which is equivalent, of course, 1.5 sets of tyres. They can use it as they please from qualifying and through the 3 races. We were talking to a few drivers though, and they were saying that the tyres are good for about 5 laps and then they might drop off. Let's look back at this though, where things are really starting to kick off side by side down the craters.
Yeah, that's the pace car, the number 7. That's the pace car. I think that's the 76 of Josh McLean. He's pushing alongside. That's the Scorpio. Rosso Verde Scorpio car, the number 64 of Nye Evans. He's again a new driver to the championship. We've seen Rosso Verde in the championship before with Christian Lester, but they've teamed up with Scorpio Motorsport to field that car, racing all the way up and down the field, and that's what we were going to expect coming into this season based off of the testing times. It was so close around here, both at the media day a couple of weeks ago and Thursday and Friday testing. A second saw you down all the way to 20th place as a big move from the 77 of Junkos up the inside of the blue 32 of Hilton, but that battle continuing on. Hilton looking up the inside of the last corner, goes to the outside.
Yeah, Hilton there in the blue is trying to send one straight back round. He's going to fire it in. Right around the outside would be a bit brave. 5. We've seen those kind of moves, especially even in this car when it was racing in GB3 before it had some of the aero taken off of it, slowed down with the engine. I mean, look, this is great racing between them, but you can see there the number 32 going to the outside, Hilton. I did speak to a few people in the paddock. A lot of people are genuinely pointing towards Hilton. Once he starts warming up in this car, definitely a contender for this championship. So keep your eye on Hilton, as to be fair, is everyone else on the grid. We know how this works. The drivers that are strong early in the season, they might not be as strong later on in the season as everyone else learns and gets up to speed. Great battle, though, with the two Douglas cars directly behind, though, in those that bright blue, because not only is Hilton there, but, of course, his teammate Holman also joining the fight, and they're being caught by Berg, and Berg's teammate, of course, Dianarine.
Yeah, this is really, really closing in. This is 5th down to about 10th, 11th place now, and it was all kicked off by that fight between Junkos and Hilton. Hilton's closely followed by his teammate, the Swede of Hallman, going through there. Now look at this, it's a brilliant shot through the chicane. This is such a quick part of the circuit. Love the camera work there. You can see the yellow bumps, I don't know what you call them, the yellow curved
little
stones.
sausage,
little sausages on the inside. You're allowed to use those. They were given to you in the driver's briefing. Dave Scott, the clerk of the course for GB4, said you're allowed to use the yellow ones. The blue ones are off limits, and to be honest, you wouldn't want to use those because these GB4 cars run so low to the ground. If you're touching those blue ones, you're potentially risking damaging the car as well. So a really fine line. You have to thread the needle through that chicane at about 80, 90 miles an hour. Which is one of the things that David Scott, clerk of the course, did highlight in that. It's those curves, the blue ones on the inside going through the fog, yes, are large. They could damage the car. Like you say, stay off of them, stay away from them. As was quite a lot of things covered in that driver's briefing this morning. I was paying attention, but I was making my notes as well. Don't worry, as much as it's a driver's briefing, we're getting briefed as well a little bit. Big slide there from Catalyst going through the old hairpin in this bright yellow car here for a lead. Really pushing the car to the limit. Think he's struggling on the rear tyres? No, this early stage, I was speaking to a couple of the drivers and driver coaches. They're saying these tyres, when they're brand new, best on about lap 5, 6, 7-ish. A bit earlier in the run compared to last season's old spec GB4 car. Of course, these cars potentially pushing that tyre a little bit harder, getting it up to temperature a bit earlier. But then I was speaking to some of the driver coaches saying, you know, depending on how you bring the tyre in its first heat cycle will depend on how well it stays with you. If you're nice to the tyre, if you're kind to it as you bring it up to temperature in that first heat cycle and qualifying, or when you're putting it on new, it'll then last you well towards the end of the second, third heat cycle. If you abuse it early on, then you might be running just running out of grip towards the end of a run. It looks like we're having a bit of an ebb and flow of pace in this race already, as we see the number 7 of Enzo Hallman on the back of his teammate, both the blue cars there, the 32 being Luke Hilton, the 7 being Enzo Hallman. But it's also this battle for 4th position here. Bostanciev in that number 17, the white and green car that uses the pit exit there. This is the battle for 4th position that we're keeping our eye on. Junkos has closed his way right the way back in. I think it's more so in pace issue for Bostanciev. Made such good progress earlier on in the race, but it's now starting to feel the pressure. Junkos all over the rear end in that number 77 Hillspeed car. The red and black going on the attack could potentially, making a move up the hill, up into McLean's not the greatest opportunity to overtake. You can do it, as we'll see him at least try and fill the moves, but that's more what it's about. It's trying to put them offline and try and complete the move into Coppice. Absolutely right, Lewis. To make a move into McLean's in these GB4 cars, you really need to be alongside before you get to the braking zone, owing to a good exit out of the old hairpin. But all you can do is keep the pressure on, and actually it was Junkos that put the pressure on to Bostanciev into the McLean's, and he just missed the apex, which allowed Junkos to stay close behind, and you can see the cars flying to that chicane. If you're ever at Donington Park and ready to watch a race, as we see Ari Bansal back in the race towards the back of the field trying to get some laps in, but if you're ever at Donington Park ready to come and watch a race, a good place to watch is the Fogger TS's on the outside of the circuit. You can really see the cars hustling through there and watching the drivers' differences. Some drivers very neat and tidy, some drivers on the ragged edge, all about trying to carry the minimum speed through that corner. We cut back to the front. The 35, Isaac Phelps, having a dream start to his GB4 campaign in 2025, pulling away at the front of the field. Ginchar's attack early on has faded somewhat, as potentially Phelps just finding a bit of a rhythm towards the middle of the race, and Catoulas pushing on hard. Catoulas was actually the fastest driver cover on circuit on that last lap. A good 2.5 tenths faster than, well, about 2 tenths faster than both the drivers ahead of him. So he's more likely to potentially have a challenge on Ginchard than Ginchard on Phelps. But we cut back to this battle for fourth place as it's the closest in the top 10 at the moment.
Yeah, you did also see, obviously, at the bottom of the screen then, Bance was the one with the fastest lap at the moment. We also had a 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits from Lily Watkins as well. So there is also that to talk about. Track limits are a thing around here. The race control will be keeping an eye. David Scott, the clerk, of course, keeping a very close eye on track limits. With where we are in the race, with Isaac Phelps and his pace at the moment, leading by 3.2 seconds, running some really good speed, could well get another 4 laps out of this race from where he is. I believe it will be 4. He might cross the line with a few seconds to spare. And that was a big moment as well from Junkos, sending it through the Fogarty S in that 77 hill speed car.
Yeah, he was really on the edge there. I think he's pushing hard to try and stay close or get a good exit out of the Fogarty S to try and pressure Bostangiev into the Melbourne hairpin. Pushing a bit too hard on the entry, and it's a bit of a tricky corner there. Let's have a look at a bit of a replay. Love the slow-mos. Look here. So he just hit the first curb a bit too hard. That little wobble, which pushed him a bit wider, and then that second snap. And you can see, as soon as he touched those big blue curbs, really unsettles the car. Big wobble. You can see him sliding all the way through the exit. Big handful of opposite lock. Great car control, but certainly not the fastest way through that section of circuit. You really want the car to be underneath you. A little slide through the left and then transition to the right to drive you through the exit. But push a bit too hard on the entry, hit that curve wrong, and it can send you over those blue bollards, or blue sausages as we're calling them, and that can unsettle the car. So Junkos definitely got more pace than Bostangiev at this stage of the race, but Bostangiev, he's doing what he needs to. He's just every single corner hitting his marks, not making any mistakes. As soon as he has a bad exit, that's when Junkos is going to have an opportunity.
Yeah, and like I say, just hitting his marks. I will say, from what I've seen from Bostangiev, it does look as though, from what I've seen, he's been overdriving the entry a little bit going into the Fogarty S. But the thing is Junkos, I think, followed him in on that lap, followed him a little bit too deep. And obviously, when you're following the car behind, it's really easy to overdo it ever so slightly. This time, a little bit more measure from Bostangiev, but that is actually might work against him, because it's better exit there from Junkos, who nailed the Fogarty S. The 77 looks to the inside in that red and black car, and this is Junkos going for the move for fourth place in deep and pushes out Bostangiev, who's going to go out wide and drop 2 positions. Did he hit on the pit limit?
Yeah, so that was a really example. The lap before, Junkos went too deep into the Fogarty S's, and that hurt his exit. This time he got it absolutely perfect, really prioritised the exit, got alongside Bostangiev, late move up the inside of the hairpin, absolutely fair enough, got alongside but pushed Bostangiev wide. Unfortunately, Bostangiev in the avoiding action to try and avoid contact with Junkos, actually touched the pit limiter button, and you saw the rear red lights flash a couple of times as he realised and had to turn that back off again, which unfortunately dropped him down a couple of places. But we cut back to this, the 35, Isaac Phelps for Elite Motorsport in the lead of the race, pulling away, setting personal best first sector, so clearly feeling comfortable with the car at this late stage in the race.
Like I've said, I've commentated on Isaac Phelps quite a lot in the world of sim racing. He is a fantastic talent, has proved that so many times for the Apex race. He's now driving for the Apex racing team, who coincidentally, Alex Dunn, who obviously was competing for the championship in GB3 a couple of years back, is a driver that has also races for the Apex Racing team. So great to see a couple of sim racers have that pedigree in the world of motorsport.
And also, simulation is such a valuable tool to these young drivers these days. In fact, so much so that the Douglas Motorsport team, the blue cars, they actually have a simulator in their awning. Yeah, they do. I was in the awning yesterday chatting to the drivers, and Wayne Douglas, team manager, was keen to show me his simulator in what was a 2016 British F3, which is now GB3 Tub. Wrap-around screen, haptic motors in there. He's got a SimuCube steering wheel, and the drivers were using it actually as warm-up before their practice sessions. So, so much. The simulation in terms of motorsport has become so important that the teams are actually investing in these in the simulators at the circuit to get the drivers prepared for racing.
Yeah, indeed. And what was the simulator of choice? Well, we'll have to come back to that in just a moment, as we'll see Ingram Hill here defending just a touch from the 45 of Callum Baxter, who has been working his way up to the rear end of his teammate Dean Areen as well. Baxter's going to look to the outside. I believe that the returning drivers is the highest placed returning driver. You can see there back up with Phelps, just going past a little bit of lapped traffic at this point in the race. So no major shocks. That's Megan Bruce, who's he's just worked his way past. But if you're wondering if he was a little bit under pressure, no, don't worry. It's all well and good. A bit scary, though.
Yeah, two returning drivers we just mentioned there. It's Callum Baxter in the 45, as we actually see Donington defending as well as Callum Baxter attacking. So Callum Baxter, as you mentioned, highest seeded driver from last season. He came 7th last year. Megan Bruce, who's just getting out of the way, they're being lapped at the moment. That's unusual, actually, for Megan this season. In testing, she's made a big step forward, was well within a second of the fastest times in testing, so potentially either had a trip to the pits or struggling with an issue there. Lewis, you're pointing out that this gap at the lead has probably closed up a little bit due to those back markers.
Yeah, it has. You can see the 35 there, in the middle of your shot. That is Isaac Phelps in the yellow car. The car directly behind him is Ginchard. We are on the final lap of the race, of course, and there is the pressure being dealt onto the rear end of Isaac Phelps. 1.2 seconds now is the gap for the race lead, and side by side is happening behind the number 44 there of Mayor Deanarine on the right hand side of your screen. The white and blue trying to attack Liam Wilson, sends one straight back to the inside. Wilson in the white and red out wide and goes for a spin. He's going to get beached a little bit in the gravel trap here, and he is going to be stationary. That will require, well, it would be requiring a safety car if we were not on the final lap of the race. But a big shame for Liam Wilson to end the race in such a way. That will go down as no points, unfortunately, for him, as we'll see the top three navigate their way through traffic back with Catalyst in the yellow Elite Motorsports car. He's a couple of seconds off the rear end of Ginchard, and we were looking potentially on the timesheets as to maybe Catalyst attacking Ginchard, but unfortunately it's not quite worked out in favour of him. As we work our way into the final sector here, Ginchard's been throwing an awful lot of this. Has set a purple first sector on this lap, but has lost a little bit of time in the second sector, which means that Isaac Phelps will come down into the final corner, and to begin this brand new era of GB4, this far more competitive era of GB4, it's Isaac Phelps who will dominate the first race of GB4 in 2025. It's Phelps on top for Elite by 1.3 seconds, navigating the lap traffic to perfection, and Ginchard will come across the line in second behind. Then it'll be Catalyst across the line with Junkos. Great drive from Junkos throughout that race. Hilton, Holman, Bostanciev did lose a little bit of speed late on in that race, I am afraid, before we get to a trio of Canadians in Berg, in Deanarine and in Baxter. Of course, the major talking point from there will be that instance between Baxter and Wilson. I think Wilson was just out a little bit wide, and I think the rear end let go. I'm not sure there was contact or anything of that sort. It did just look like Wilson out a little bit wide. It's pretty tricky to keep it on the racetrack when you're out that wide. Anyway, of course, the race is it's not officially done because there's still people driving around the circuit here. We do have the 46 of Bansal having just got past McDaniel, who was a late entry into this season opener, and of course it will be an extra position for Bansal. But I think the big talking point for Bansal there would have been about the loss of front wing through contact down into the first corner. Basically, unfortunately, a bit of contact there with Jack Taylor, sending Taylor down the order, and Bansal as well. There's your race winner, though. Isaac Phelps, absolutely fantastic, flawless in this race. Maybe was driving a little bit too quick at the front of the field, could be wearing out those tyres. Of course, the Pirelli tyres, I said it before, they have 6 tyres, 6 dry tyres for their Pirellis that they can use across the weekend. And of course, there's 4 of them on the car. There's only 2 spare. They might have already been bedded in through qualifying, where they take that initial layer off of the tyre, so it's kind of maybe a little bit up to speed, a little bit faster, but that's for them to decide, and we'll see how they play their cards with that tomorrow. Obviously, a lot of celebrations coming in there on the right-hand side. The Elite team, great stuff from the Elite team, to be perfectly honest. You can see the yellow and black. They are running first and third in this race, so a superb performance from them. Isaac Phelps, of course, who we caught up with after qualifying, after setting that pole lap. Brilliant pole position from the number 35. He'll get to do exactly the same thing tomorrow morning. One new thing, though, for GB4 when it comes to that reverse grid race a little bit later on in the weekend, it's not a full reverse grid. It is just the top 12 who will be reversed. So as it is in GB3. Isaac Phelps will get himself out of the car. You can see there Ginchard climbing out. Honestly, I will say for Ginchard, it was a really, really solid drive for the Hill Speed team. 1.3 seconds off of the race lead late on. I think that might have been a bit controlling things for Phelps. I'm sure we'll hear in the interviews once Piers Prior will catch up with our top three. But I think it was more controlling the race. It was putting yourself in position and, of course, navigating that lap traffic without taking too much risk. Of course, the rule here in GB4, the blue flags, they don't mean that the back marker has to jump out of the way. It is about it's the lead car's responsibility to get past cleanly, but the blue, those that are going a lap down can't put up a fight. That's what the important bit is there from them. I'm sure, again, Elite will be very, very happy with how things unfolded during this race. Of course, Bansal, who their other driver, finishing further down the order, but showing that pace. We'll hand down though to Piers Prior, who's catching up with our top three.
Thanks very much, Lewis. Yes, that's the first race of the new era of GB4 here in 2025, and our first winner, Isaac Phelps. That must feel pretty good.
Yeah, it feels really good from double pole to win in the first race. Just so many people to thank. It was a brilliant race. Like starting on the new tyres was quite sketchy for my first single-seater race. So I struggled at the start, and then once I came in, I think we found good pace, and yeah, it was nerve-wracking to say the least.
Absolutely. With the Elite Motorsport team, of course, that you're racing for, clearly done a good job with Alex Katulis, your teammate, in third place as well.
Yeah, he went from P8 to P3, so that's a pretty good drive from him. So I think Elite have got it right for this year.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. We'll let you go and celebrate with the team while I grab a word with our second place driver, Dan Ginchard. Dan, great drive from yourself. Of course, the start was crucial to that race for you, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, massively. Thanks, Mark. Yep, down here with our top three once again. We're going to have a quick word with Isaac Phelps. Well done, Isaac. Your season team manager.
Good pace at the sort of the first stage of that race. You closed the gap that Isaac got at the stage, but then it fell away a bit at the end. Is that what you felt?
Yeah, so I was catching a little bit on the start, and then the middle phase, their tyres came on a little bit more, but then at the end it looked like we were closing in again. So overall, was really happy with the pace. We were quicker in that race than we were in quali. So we definitely got the pace to do it. It's just shame we're starting a little bit further back tomorrow, but we'll do what we can.
Did you make any changes to it to get those improvements?
A few tweaks, but nothing major. But I think I just sorted my driving out a little bit, put it together, and overall just really happy.
Looking forward to tomorrow?
Yeah, can't wait, especially to the reverse grid race after my overtakes today. So yeah, that should be definitely exciting stuff to watch.
Dan, we look forward to that, and we'll grab a word with our third place driver, who is Alex Katulis, who has unfortunately left me, but I'm going to go for a little wander and grab Alex Katulis off. Oh no, he's found me. Sorry everyone. Alex, sorry, I couldn't see you there. Alex, great job as our race winner, just photo bombs there. Alex, great drive from yourself to come through the field. Talk to us about that from your perspective.
Yeah, no, just got like the start wasn't amazing, but it was good enough, I think. It was got very messy actually, like going down into Old Hairpin, but then kind of made sure I stayed out of trouble and picked the right spots to go through, and people made mistakes and just make sure I capitalized on that. So yeah, that was a really good race, really fun. Yeah.
Amazing, brilliant racing. Thank you very much, Alex. It's great to hear from all three of our top three drivers. Of course, in a moment's time we're going to have the podium, and I think before then we're potentially going to have some highlights of that race before we hand to the podium, which Lewis is going to take us through.
Well, thank you there, Piers, and thank you to the top three as well. Obviously, again, getting that insight of how it's like, or what it's like in the race. It's hard race down there. I will say one thing that kind of wasn't touched on by any of the drivers, and we haven't even touched on it in the race, is the wind, which has been a real bad tailwind down into the first corner. It has been blowing pretty quickly. So all the drivers navigating that. That might have also led to that spin late on from Leon Wilson. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe I'm just chucking some excuses out there and trying to help out. I don't know. There, of course, Isaac Phelps seemed very mature in there and said it seems like Elite's got this, got it right. I mean, Elite are they're a quality team in the world of motorsport. If you've not really kind of followed junior motorsport in the UK, you don't really know. Maybe you've not followed GB3, GB4, Ginettas, and as such. Elite are, well, they're one of the elite teams. To be perfectly honest, they are one of the strongest teams across the board. If you ever ever go to a British GT weekend where you've got Ginettas, GB3 and GB4, they have one big awning where basically everything's in. So it's they're a quality team, and they're showing it here. And to be fair, again, the idea of them having all 3 cars right at the front of the field, I would not have been shocked, courtesy of that issue from Bansal, which threw him down the order. The fact that they have the pace of all 3 cars, very, very impressive. Good for Isaac Phelps as well to note, shows how much he pays attention, that Catalyst started from 8th position, worked his way up into 3rd position, so keeping aware as to where all the rivals are. We'll welcome our drivers there onto the podium, the first of which will be Catalyst, of course, finishing about 4 seconds off of the race lead. Then into 2nd position is Dan Ginchard. Again, great drive and sounded very mature there. Said about the overtaking prowess that he showed in that race. And again, I think we'll be seeing that quite a lot tomorrow. But there's your race winner. It is Isaac Phelps for the Elite Motorsports team. 1.3 seconds clear of Ginchard, but that doesn't really tell the full story. It was far more dominant than even that, just being careful navigating the lapped traffic. Obviously, we'll be handing out various trophies to each of the top 3, which, again, very, very well deserved there, of course. Jonathan Palmer, the chief executive operator of the MSV, and he'll be handing out those trophies to the top 3. And, of course, the biggest one to the race winner, Isaac Phelps. Chance of him going victorious again tomorrow? Yeah, pretty high. He is impressive and very, very fast indeed. He's been showing that, and he's obviously had the qualifying speed to go for back-to-back pole position. I do believe there is one more trophy for them to hang out, which is from the Donington Park Racing Association Club. But of course, that'll be for the first winner here on Saturday. Let's go, though, to highlights from the first race of 2025. Highlights from the first race of the season, and of course it was an excellent start from Isaac Phelps from pole position down to the first corner. It was the first corner that saw some drama. Bansal on the inside just clipping the rear end of Jack Taylor on the exit of the first corner, and that would drop the pair of those right the way down the order. Everyone pushing to the absolute limit of the cars going through that chicane, and there was a bit of a moment there from Luke Hilton. Bit of side-by-side as well on the running down into the old hairpin, as plenty of pressure was being dished out left, right and centre, to be perfectly honest, as everyone was trying to find their way through. Some big moves coming in from the 77 of Junkos, who was showing some great speed in the opening stages of the race. A big battle between himself and Hilton as well. But once Junkos had got through, he was on the attack, on the prowl, and charging his way up to the rear end of Bostantiev. A bit of a dive down into the hairpin there, the Melbourne hairpin, which would push Bostantiev out wide and drop him down the order. Some big moves late on the final lap of the race. A look to the inside from Theo Nareen. Wilson would go for a bit of a spin around on the exit, and he was absolutely furious. But a dominant victory, though, for Isaac Phelps, out and across the line for the number 35 to take his first victory in GB4. With 2 elites on the podium, it's a great start to the season for them. We'll show you the provisional results, though, from the first race of the season. It is Isaac Phelps taking that victory. Ginchard there in 2nd position with Catalyst in 3rd. Great stuff for Elite. Junkos, it is a very, very solid drive. Put on some great moves to work his way up the order into 4th, with Hilton and then Holman for Douglas Motorsports there in 5th and 6th. Of course, Bostantiev, their pace performance in 7th position before we get those trios of Canadians. You've got Berg, then you've got Dianarine, and then you've got Baxter. Great start to the season for the Graham Brunton Racing team. All finishing within the top 10, all scoring some decent points. Those behind, we did see some great racing. Ingram Hill will be the next driver. Then Ava Dobson. I'm going to give a massive shout out. That is a cracking drive from Ava Dobson, who did have a couple of struggles last season, but 12th place, really, really solid. Huge amount of progress. Pripyal then in 13th position with Coulthard in 14th. O'Grady from the back of the field, no less, up 10 positions into 15th position with Magnussen, then McLean, Evans, Mile, and of course Watkins, who I think had a bit of a moment going through the chicane a bit late on. Bansal losing the front wing on the very first lap of the race, being brought into the pit lane and then sent back out again. McDaniel as well, late addition to the grid. Great drive into to keep it on the road, to be perfectly honest, and keep your eye focused forward. Taylor had some great pacing qualifying, started from the front row, but unfortunately dropped back after the puncture, with Wilson and Bruce both finishing a lap down, although of course Wilson wasn't even a finisher in that race. We'll hand down though to Piers, who is in the paddock.
Thank you for running us through the results of the first race of the season. Now, I've grabbed team manager for Elite Motorsport, Eddie Ives. Eddie, you must be feeling pretty good right now with a double podium at the first race of the season.
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, I've got three good kids in the cars, so it's making us look good. But what a fantastic championship GB4 now is. 25 cars on the grid. Yeah, I think that's the best single-seater racing we've seen in a long time in the UK. So, no, just really pleased to be a part of it, and obviously at the front of it. Amazing,
and of course, a good race for two of your drivers on the podium. Unfortunate for Ari Bansal there. Did get a slight amount of contact on the rear end of Jack Taylor at the start, but he showed his pace in that one. Actually got fast lap, I believe, in that one, despite being almost a lap down.
Yeah, I think it was fastest lap by 2 or 3 tenths. So. Yeah, no, what a fantastic job he was doing as well. Yeah, unfortunate to have the contact at the start, but yeah, shows the potential's there, and hopefully we'll extract it in the next race tomorrow morning.
Clearly a lot of hard work's gone on behind the scenes to bring you to this point at this early stage in the season.
Yeah, well, obviously we run these cars in GB3 for last few years, so we should have a bit of a head start on a few people, but yeah, we've been hard at work since December, since we got the first engine. Spent a lot of time in Spain. All three of them have done quite a bit of mileage, but yeah, it's now paying off.
Eddie, thanks very much for catching up with us. We'll let you go and celebrate with the team after what was a very successful start to the season in GB4 with the Elite Motorsport team. Thanks very much. If you want more of the same amazing racing action, we're going to be live again for both races tomorrow, starting with the race number 2. That will be about 9:45. Join us about then. And then we've got about 2:45 will be race number 3. So thanks very much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the first race of the new era of GB4. Join us again tomorrow morning for more.